We are gonna get started.
I can chat.
Okay.
Progress.
All right, so we're getting started. Thank you for being here. So this is the format that we're gonna try out for a while. We're gonna stream these in other locations. What do you need me? Oh, so they don't need to see me right now. So we're gonna see how it works. We're gonna ask for some grace and some participation on that part. So we started doing it from this. It hit me this morning. This might be the last team meeting that we do here. I'm not gonna lie. I'll give that a round of applause. So, we've got the move coming up. I so appreciate everyone in the room that's been helping us with that and the logistics, but we're excited about it. So here's what we're gonna do. The format of this is gonna be a little bit different. We're not gonna go through the slides with the production numbers or anything like that. Not because we don't want to celebrate it. We are listening to feedback. And we had heard a couple of times that we might spend a lot of time on that. So we're gonna try a little different. We did produce the slides, the graphics, because we want to celebrate everyone. That has been emailed out to all of you. And then you will see throughout the day that it'll be posted on social media. It's something for you guys to share because obviously we want to celebrate your great success with that. As far as the content for today, this is what you get. Buckle up. We're going to talk about Mega Camp. We're going to basically take the information from Mega Camp and we're going to have a conversation about it. What that looks like, what the market looks like, and then how we can apply that to your business and help you guys grow. Does that sound good?
Specifically the economic conversation that Gary had on section 1.
Yeah. So we're gonna go through basically what the market's doing. And then how do you translate that? Because who right here is a little unsure of what the market's doing. Not that you're uneasy about it, you just don't really know how to talk about it.
It's completely wonky.
Okay, so only two of us. So, I mean, I guess we didn't need the meeting, then we can, everybody else is super comfortable with it. No, I mean, it's an interesting market. So how do we translate that market? So let's jump in. You want to add anything to it?
No,
or- Then the idea, but no, I'm good. Let's get started. All right, so let's jump in. So I'm gonna start this out and heard anything by Jim Rohn. Okay, so Jim Rohn, Rohn, he's awesome. Go to YouTube, type it in, hit the playlist. He's really, really good. He's very matter of fact. He's not a real airy fairy guy. And he talks about this concept he calls turning nothing into something. And I changed the name a little bit to how to change your goals into reality. Like how do you make your goals in reality? And it's not that your goals are nothing, yet when you write them down, they're not tangible yet. And there's a 4-step process that he says we go through. And the first one is imagine the possibilities. Right, and we do this in business planning, which be on the lookout. Business planning clinic is going to be coming up in a couple of months. It's what are the possibilities in real estate? What are the possibilities for you, for your business and everything that we have there? I want to make sure, are you monitoring chat at all?
I'm not, but I'll you.
Okay, perfect. The second part is then once we do those, once we imagine those possibilities, are you believing those possibilities are possible for you?
It's just cutting off the words.
Okay. Believe the possibilities are possible for you. The next one is then go to work and make it happen. The next one's not as philosophical. It's like, you got to go to work and make it happen. We're in a difficult market, right? And difficult as it relates to getting the business. So you got to go to work and make it happen. And then lastly, everyone's favorite, embrace the accountability that's needed for your goals. Whose goals?
Of course.
Yours, right? I don't care if you want to sell 10 homes a year or 100 homes a year. There's a level of accountability that you need in order to do that. All right. So that's the format of what we're going to go through today with this conversation. And I don't know how it's going to go. We'll have participation, but let's go to this, imagine the possibilities and what the market is telling us right now. So the first thing we look at with the market is this consumer sentiment. So what does this mean?
Yeah.
Tell us what consumer sentiment is.
I have no idea.
Okay,
Great. How consumers feel about the market.
I figured
all right. How they feel about the market. So when you see, if you look in April of 2022, it dropped down to one of the lowest it's seen, but it started to creep back up. How does that impact us? Positively?
If they see the market good.
They see it better?
These are the consumers coming to you, telling you how they feel. So if they feel down, they feel unsure, they're not moving, they're not calling you right away, their phone's blowing up. Are you interested in buying or selling? No, not right now.
Yeah, I got a lot of uncertainty in my database.
Right.
And that's what we're seeing.
in terms of interest rate, future pricing, if I buy now, and I can refinance it, but what if the home goes down $50,000 because the interest rate don't go down? There's a lot of like, I have no idea what to tell you.
Right, right, okay, anybody else experiencing that?
No.
Right, a lot of maybe just unsure, right, what are rates gonna do? Right, so that's the purpose of this discussion is how to, and Ben made a good point, is make it a little bit later, is, you know, we're not necessarily trying to talk people into something. We're just trying to educate them on what's going on to see if that's the best decision for them. Right? Anything else on this?
With this theme, who attended Mega Camp
Or watch this?
or watched this?
Who attended Mega Camp or watch this?
I want to carry this theme throughout the whole thing. Gary said it's always the right time to buy the right piece of real estate. Okay, who would have bought a house in 2008 in Mount Pleasant?
I did.
Who, well, okay, looking back now, if you could have bought a house in Mount Pleasant in 2008, would you have?
Yes.
Yeah, you would have bought the entire community, yet that was one of the worst housing markets we've ever seen. So it's always the right time to buy the right piece of real estate, because if you bought a house in Mount Pleasant in 2008, guess what? You made a ton of money. Or anywhere. Always the right time to buy the right piece of real estate. So when we talk to our consumers, the theme that we're gonna keep is we're never out of the market completely. You just haven't found the right piece of real estate. Because if I go list a house in Old Village for $250,000, everybody in this room is gonna go try to buy it. Okay,
He's still trying to get Anton to sell his house in the old village. for
Yeah, he won't.
$250,000, so.
so it's always the right time to buy the right piece of real estate. So continue that theme throughout this entire conversation. Got it?
Awesome, all right, so let's go to the next one. So this is the one, unemployment. So why is it important for us to talk about unemployment? We're at an all-time low of unemployment right now. And we can get into the semantics of what we're counting as unemployment. I mean, we can get into that, yet this is what we know. So why is it important for us to know this?
People have jobs that mean they're steady pay, that
Yeah.
they're secure.
Right,
Which
I mean-
means that we probably won't see a lot of foreclosures because they have jobs
yeah,
and steady pay.
yeah, so people have jobs, they have steady pay, we're not gonna see a lot of defaults, right? We may see some. Again, this is driving the consumer confidence.
And I think most of the defaults are gonna come from consumer goods,
What do you mean?
cars,
Credit cards.
credit cards.
Yeah.
Student loans.
Yeah.
But housing was relatively affordable for most people, and we still have pretty aggressive.
I
Housing regulations.
7%, so.
7%, oh yeah, we're gonna get into that discussion. All right, so let's talk about inflation. Why is this important? What is this telling you? So here's what inflation's done however long, since 90. 90, by the way, is a year that some of y'all have never seen. So we can do the jokes.
My parents were married at that time.
So, but what is this telling you? Like, why is it important to know this? Again, if we're looking at this from twofold, we're looking at it from how we approach this as a real estate agent building our business, but how do we also approach it as a consumer, as a person that's just existing and going through life? Why is this important?
People's household budgets are higher than typical because food, gas, the normal pricing that people are doing are higher. The interest rates on credit cards are higher, people are maxing them out, so it's very, like, for them to qualify for a loan, they have to live within a budget, or they should live within a budget.
We have less buying power.
So their buying power is gone.
Why, so the comment was their buying power is gone.
Well, they're typical, I mean, let's just talk, the average person makes $75,000 a year, right? Let's say your food costs went up 20%, your gas price went up 12%, your average everyday life living cost has gone up so much. On top of, home prices have gone up 36%, on top of the interest rates have tripled almost since 2020 lows, right? So like, there's a lot of extra costs, and their living wages have not grown to the extent of livability, affordability, and everything, so they're squeezed right now.
Right,
So that's how I look
we're
at
gonna
it.
talk about it.
Because the majority of people don't have the opportunity that you guys have to
Create more income.
create more income.
Yeah, and we're still feeling it though, because we haven't created more income, possibly. Not speaking for the whole room, right, but possibly, okay?
So I have a question, isn't the goal 2% inflation, isn't that what we're wanting to?
Yes.
get towards?
Yeah.
So we're pretty close.
Yeah.
right? Like, so I can't really read.
Yeah, so the question was, is it the goal 2%? And we're coming, and the line across, the dotted line across represents that,
Oh, okay.
right?
We're solid, the 6.5,
We're-
6.4 and 5.7.
So that's where we are now?
No, we're down, what it say, well, yes, that's where we are, and that's where it's projected to go. So it's going in the right direction.
Oh, I
right.
see, it goes to 24.
Correct, it goes to 24.
Okay.
Which one would argue is a lot of this was driven by what? Like, it's starting to go in the right direction. What was driven by that?
Rates.
right?
Exactly.
So that's a double-edged sword for us because
They need them high.
they need them high to drive these down, yet it's definitely having a little bit of an impact for us. Make sense? All right. So let's talk about the industry itself. So here's the one we all start with, this number right here, home sales annually. This is the one that's the daunting one that's been shared over and over and over again. We're down 25%, 30%, whatever it may be. The projections right now are saying just over 4 points, they're saying 4.3, I've heard maybe closer to 4.1 for number of total homes sold in 2023. Let's just go ahead and get it out there. We can look at the graph, we can look at the trends back since 1990. It's gonna be the fewest number of homes, more than likely, or one of the lowest 2 years of number of homes sold. So that's, what can we do with that information? What can we change about that information?
What was the inventory available? There wasn't as much inventory available. for homes
Let's-
sold.
True, and let's go back to the question though, what can we change about this specific bit of information?
You can't change.
Nothing.
Nothing,
Educate
nothing,
clients.
exactly. Over time, I mean,
You can't make people move.
correct,
This is national.
yes. Right, and we're seeing roughly the same trends here. It's not dropping quite as much, yet we're seeing the trend go down. Right, the point is this is information that we have. Now, again,
It's the size smaller.
there are people in this room who back in 2008, 9, and 10 did just fine in the real estate industry. Who was in the business in 8, 9, and 10? How was it? How'd you do?
Oh, brand new.
I know how you did. Because when did you get in?
06.
06, yeah. So you went in, you came in, oh yeah, you came in right.
Who were those hands again, by the way?
Yeah.
Let's just.
Raise
see
your
it.
hands again.
And they've all done pretty well for
And you're
themselves. huh?
still here, right? You're still here. Now, here's what's interesting. It's all relative, right? We've got to look at the trend. Both times this happened, it was painful because look at the prior 2 years. This is the challenge, is we can look at this as a static number all day long. That's not how we're looking at it. We're looking at it as in the last 2 years, it's gone from 6.1 to 4.1. That's a big drop, right? So that's what we're feeling right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got nothing on this slide. We'll get
Okay.
more to the.
Yeah, he doesn't like this slide. There's one later that he likes more. So again, same thing, home sales. What this is telling me is this is just the trend monthly. And again, we follow it on a local level pretty close. Is yes, it's still trending down, but not at the same rate as it was last year. I mean, last year and honestly, last year, the second half of the year, as you can see, actually the second 3 quarters of the year is where it really started to drop. Last year was an interesting year because I think we all just woke up one day and we're like, what happened? I mean, we knew it was coming, but the first part of the year, we had this false sense of security, as you can see. I mean, we were on track to do 6.5 million homes sold last year at the beginning of the year. And then all of a sudden we weren't. Right, so this year, we're stabilizing at this point. We're gonna see a little bit of a drop, but we're stabilizing. So what does this mean for us? Again, home prices, starting to see a little bit of a dip. What are you guys seeing?
Stagnant.
Stagnant?
Let's see if they're sitting, so you're adjusting prices.
Yeah. What about price reductions? Are you seeing more price reductions?
Yep.
It depends on what price point you're looking
I
at.
was gonna say,
And what location?
Yeah.
and it's also hard because you see certain things price and they move, and you see other people push price. So is it really a price correction, or is it just a consumer getting realistic with reality?
I
Right.
think that's what it is.
Say it again?
I think what John
I think-
says.
Yeah, so like, you see people pricing homes, but is it price reductions, or is it consumers getting realistic with reality of, hey, the heyday of 2021 where you just stamp a number on it and it's sold? Kind of out the window.
Yeah. We just did and again, somebody said it, 2 people did actually, it's really very market specific and in both price point as well as location. You know, we were surprised in talking with Glenn, we're talking with one of our clients, and it was, the concern was doing another price reduction, and I thought, well, gosh, everybody's doing it, and I went and looked at a snapshot in time, the last 30, 45 days this year versus last year, it actually wasn't that big of a difference. It was not that big of a difference on price, a number of price reductions that had happened. I think what we've stopped doing is only talking about the wild stuff that's going on. We just weren't talking about that in the last 24 months. We were just like, under contract in a half an hour, all these offers, these sorts of things, above list price, but we weren't looking at, there still were markets that were not seeing that, yet still in a healthy way moving. All right, now, does this continue to trend down?
Yeah, I think we'll probably see like 1%, 1.5% year over year for the next couple of years, and then it'll be back on the trend line for going forward. As long as inventory is there.
What do you think?
I think that real estate, was a get rich quick scheme for 3 years. You buy a piece of real estate, you sit on it for 6 months, you made 50 grand. We're not gonna see that anymore. We're gonna start to see average appreciation of a home over time. Which is fine, which is what it was for
Yeah.
the 50 years before that.
3-4% appreciation.
Yeah.
per year.
Well, and that was the attitude of the agents as well. So now you have to remember, as this starts to go and the market cleans itself up agent wise, you'll have more opportunity for market share.
I think the difference that's gonna save us this time than say when we saw it last time was it was get rich quick and it was so much easier to buy then, like in a very unhealthy way, right? Like, didn't even need a name.
There wasn't there wasn't a ton of spec buyers out there buying new construction, hoping to hold on to it for 6 months and 800 grand.
Right.
The last few years have been realistic to keep them moving.
Yeah.
Sure, there's some push.
I think though, it'll depend on how quickly the rates come down. If rates come down in an accelerated rate, then we could step into another buyer's frenzy, which will hike prices back up because of low inventory.
Do we see that happening though?
I hear the Feds think that too, and they're gonna keep the rates higher than they.
I don't think it, I just don't see anything indicating that. A lot of people, the next thing people say is, well, next year's an election year. I don't think that's gonna make a difference. I think it'll drive, maybe stabilize them, maybe drive it down a little bit, but we're not gonna see. I mean, the reality is, and this isn't doomsday, it just is what it is. The reality is, we're not gonna see what we saw again. I mean, it's very unlikely. I guess you can't.
3% unless, and if we do.
Well, I don't think it has to be 3%.
No, I agree.
A 2% drop in rates.
It's huge.
Yeah.
I agree
Right,
with
right.
you 100%. That's why I think, personally, this is me personally, I think the Feds are gonna slow roll it out.
Yeah,
Well, I think so.
So they don't create that boom again, and then we're back in the situation where they have to re-hike rates again.
yeah.
Yeah, we're going politicians, people, I get it, yeah, I'm just saying, that's just my opinion.
Yeah. All right, so new home starts. You had some thoughts on this one.
Yeah, the big takeaway I got from this was we had all these new home starts that stopped, right? Because builders overbuilt in 2005, 2006, 2007, and then they just stopped building, right? They were not, it was spec home and then you've got to have money and then we'll break ground on it. Builders aren't gonna fix the inventory crisis. They cannot build enough houses, but for the first time in a while, they're not hurting it anymore. Right? So we actually have builders breaking ground, putting in communities, and they're going to increase the inventory, but they're not gonna fix the problem. Right? When we look at what happened in 2008, 2009, 2010, 2011, of course we have an inventory problem because houses weren't being built.
Builders were bankrupt.
Builders were bankrupt. We had Gen Z starting to graduate from college right here, and there's no houses, but yet they're the biggest group of home buyers. And builders weren't building.
And we're doing new homes, we're a ton of resales.
Yeah.
Right.
So now, again, for the first time in a while, they're not gonna fix it, but they're not hurting it anymore.
Yeah. All right. So mortgage rates, this one. So this one, go back to this one a little bit. And the reason I left this on here is you gotta look at mortgage rates from two perspectives. And the challenge is, and Gary even said this, and I'm not disagreeing with Gary, yet the challenge that we have to have is honestly, if one more home buyer right now hears, well, back when I was walking to work or school in the snow backwards, it was 18%. No one, I get it, but your perspective, and they say, I hear it all the time with it, it was 7%, it was 10%, well, it came down from 16. So it was great. I mean, we gotta look at the buyers now are looking that 2 years ago, it was 3%, is double. Right? So we gotta be careful to not look at it. And again, I'm looking in the mirror when I say this, because I did it, I mean, I bought my house at blah, blah, blah. Okay, well, that's great. Yet we also have to make sure that we're also not saying, oh my gosh, it's doubled. We can't do it from both ends. We just have to be careful because we're getting back to, somewhat stable. If you look at the historical average over the last 11 years, or 21 years, we're not really that bad of where we are. And if you look at it from over the last 30, 40 years, we're fine. It's just relative from where we were coming within the last 3 years. No.
We just got used to an anomaly, and I think our clients did too. So people that are like, do you ever see rates going back down? Like, well, the market fluctuates, right?
Right.
But 2 or 3%, no.
Have they ever been
So-
2 or 3% before in the history?
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's a lot of, at least what I've been trying to educate people that are reaching out to me,
Yeah.
and like, it fluctuates, and marry the house they rate.
Right. Yeah, and the mayor of the house state the rate, I get that, and we still have to be careful because we're at a normal place right now. So it's really more, here's the rate, right? Here's what we know that's gonna happen with the rate. If it goes down, great. You can refinance and do great. If it goes up, even better because you've locked in. Right, and you're here at this point. What I do know is that in every year in history, like if you're planning on living in a house for any period of time, this is not going down. Right? So as a home buyer, if your only reason for waiting is simply the rate, that's the risk that you're having on that.
Well, you kind of need to also get comfortable with the secondary conversation of when they say, is it gonna go back to, do you think it's gonna drop? You need to get comfortable saying it probably won't. You're probably never gonna see 2, 3, or even 3.5% again. Now, knowing that information, what do you do with that information and how do you control? That's what they talk about a lot is at 5%, are you still interested in buying a house? Because at the end of the day, that is how you control your monthly budget, by buying a house, because that interest rate isn't changing once you lock it in. And if it's at 5%, you're never gonna see 3 again. Get comfortable with that. How do you feel about that? Now, what do you wanna do? And then get them to answer the question versus rambling on about the rates. Ask them why that's important to them. Always ask them, what if you only saw 5? What does that change your future next 12 months with home buying, and get an idea of where they are?
Yeah.
I've been trying to tell people that the best hedge of inflation is to grab a 30-year mortgage, whether it's 6%, 7.2%.
Right.
Because it fixates your cost of living for 30 years, right?
Right.
So that's the best bet you can do, because what our rent's gonna continue going, if inventory goes down. So like, you're gonna be paying one or the other, one way or the other.
And timing's a fool's game. Right? We've all seen them draw that chart. Tell me when we're at the highest part of the market. Tell me when we're at the lowest. You always miss it.
Right.
Right? Timing is a fool's game. What I do know is that it's always the right time to buy the right piece of real estate.
Well, one of the things too that Gary was saying, he said buying a home controls your spending.
Yeah.
Right, and that's, where are you putting your money? And then he went off on this full, which I thought was interesting, because we're always talking about, oh, let's go buy an RV and just be vagabonds, right? Moving around, and he's like, the people that are doing that are not controlling their spending. Broad brush statement, like read through it, but it's like, for the most people are just not like looking at that this as a potential investment and helping control their spending. Where does that end up for them in 20, 30 years? Right? And this goes back to this whole affordability. So here's the crux of the bigger consumer issue is if you look at what's happened over the last 10 or 12 years, 10 or 15 years, the affordability, housing affordability was incredibly low. And so we just bought and we were spoiled in buying and we were buying and we're selling, we're doing all this, but guess what else we were doing while we were doing that in real estate? Spending our money on everything. Right? So it goes back to what John was saying earlier is like, we've built this lifestyle around the affordability of housing being so low. Now that the affordability rate has gotten back up, and again, it's been a big jump. Again, it's all relative on that jump. But if you look at, that ideal of 27%, and we're above it, and it's starting to level out a little bit. It's not so far above it, but it feels so much more because of this. We were overspending, inflation, we get all that. So now it goes into that discussion of, do your buyers have to revisit their lifestyle? Do we have to revisit our lifestyle? No, I mean, let's not be ridiculous. Right? Do you want to add anything?
No, well, when we get to the.
Okay.
Well, I think you really have to apply our local affordability to this slide.
Well, correct.
To get clear on that,
Yeah.
because we're at about a 70% affordability index.
Yeah, yeah, so the clarification on it, in case that didn't go through, is we do have to apply this. This is one where you have to look at the micro market. Right, so and what Brian was saying is we're at a 70% affordability index. So yes, we do have an affordability issue here. Which really is more of a global issue within Charleston, is like, how do you let the current people here? Because the thing is that's not showing up at the same level. Because homes are still selling at a level we're seeing a decline in home selling, but most of that is coming from people that obviously aren't dealing with the affordability side because of their income and because they're coming from other areas. Right, but yeah, you absolutely have to look at it from this side. So that's almost more of like it's an issue with our business, but it's also like a social, like community issue too, is like, how are we getting more affordable housing for the people that currently live here?
Right.
Yeah.
I used to count those on Cottingham go for 650, they're like, oh, that's really $600. And I know relatively 10 years ago, but
Right,
still like,
right.
wow, that's your entry level, not pleasant.
100%.
To John's point earlier, just really quickly, the median income nationwide is 75 grand, right? 51% of people earn 75 grand. So if you saved up 50 grand for a down payment, right? And your interest rate 7.5%, that affords you a $250,000 house.
Yeah.
I just did all the stats. today in prep for my radio show, so I know it all, but
Yeah,
there are 25 homes right now available
right.
at or under 250 grand.
I don't want to live in any.
And
Right. I mean, that's the reality. of it. I mean, it's- yeah, you don't wanna live in them. And it also goes into, and this is, and I can't remember, it was you that had this discussion not long, a few years ago with, so median household income here is what? Like same thing, we did the same.
so, yeah, I don't remember what the household income is, but
Like 9, oh,
I don't think it's that
I
high.
was lower than that.
Yeah, it's like, let's say it's,
Yeah.
yeah, let's say it's 63 or 70, so median household income is 63 or 70. How many homes do you have to sell in real estate to make that income in Charleston?
depends on your price, right? But-
Right, but I mean, for the most part,
Average.
yeah, it's 8 or 9 homes. I mean, and that's why, again, that's why we won't see in this local. That's always been a challenge with Charleston of why we've been overinflated with real estate agents, is because our home prices have far exceeded our median income. So why would people get out of the business? You can sell 6, 7, 8 houses a year and make what you would make if you went and got a 9 to 5,
Don't do a real job.
right? Right. Right, so again, that's something to just take, I mean, a little bit of a bunny trail, but that's something to take into consideration, because we're all waiting for the exodus of agents. We're not gonna see it at the level that we would elsewhere. Now, again, we can always go beat those agents to the deal though. And that's what that's looks like. All right, so we'll speed up just a little bit for time. So the mortgage universe, so 89% of mortgages, we talked about this, have rates of 5% or less. Okay, that's just information that we need to know. And that is the challenge. And then you had said something earlier.
The challenge here is now that 90% of the people that we're going up against are gonna say, why would I ever sell my 3% interest rate to go to a 7% house when prices have increased? So I'm going a linear move with the same payment. Why would I do that? And that's a tough conversation to have. So really what's sparking here, what I told Joseph is that everybody's not gonna be a buyer in this market. That's not the case. So we're gonna have to find them motivated, right? That's the big issue here. There's always gonna be people moving into Charleston. There's always gonna be death. There's always gonna be divorce. And you're gonna have to get specific about finding the people that have to transact. Because these conversations are tough to overcome. And it's almost inappropriate for us to have that conversation where I don't need to sell. I don't need to buy. I'm happy in this house. Why would I make a linear move and have a higher payment? It's a tough conversation to have because there's a little bit of commission breath in that. So let's focus on the people that have to buy and sell and invest in real estate. And that's what that's the number one opportunity that this market is going to bring, is that we have to find those people. We don't just get to have, here's our database, here's the 500 people that I've been using for the past 3 years, and I've been bankrolling my life on that. We're going to have to add people to that database of people who need to buy, sell, and invest in real estate.
Yep. All right, so sides per agent. So here's the other part. We're gonna get this one out of the way too. So this is what we look at. So now how does this affect our business? We look at it from the consumer standpoint, a little bit from our business. So we're at the lowest sides per agent that we've had in a while. Ever. You know, just trying to sugarcoat it a little bit, right? So 6. So this is when we're like, oh, here we go again. And again, we're gonna see it. We're gonna see agents leave the industry. Sure, probably not gonna see it at a super high level. And normally we don't even know what that looks like until 6 months after it does anyway, on paper, right? But this looks at it and says, okay, but it's still almost 6 sides per agent. I mean, the opportunity is still out here. Here's the part that we don't focus on, is we're about to have the worst year ever as far as sides per agent, and we're about to have the 4th best year ever as far as volume per agent.
Yeah, if it wasn't for volume, a lot of people would be suffering.
Right,
Correct. And we are still.
Benefit of our market, right?
right.
It's the benefit of our market, but we're still feeling it because we all purchased cars and went on trips and spent like crazy. Our team included, when we were at 1.8 volume per agent. Right? We all spent money because we were making it like crazy. It was so easy to make money in 2020 and 2021 in the real estate industry. It just was, because anybody, I got a 3% interest rate. You can afford this gorgeous house. Are you interested? Yeah. Okay, let's move forward. So everybody was making money. And we were spending it like it was never going to stop. So the 2 biggest opportunities that we have right now are find the people that have to and control our spending at home and in our business. That's it. If you want to be Jan and Brian, and who went into 2008 and are still here and have incredible businesses,
Some bruises.
control your business, control your spending at home and in life, and then go find them motivated. Because not everybody's a buyer in this market. Not everybody's a seller in this market, and it's not our job to convince them, it's our job to find those who are.
Aaron, go through more no's.
Go what?
Go through more no's.
Go through more no's, exactly. All right, so let's go to the next part. So these believe the possibilities are possible for you. So let's talk about this, equity. So let's talk about where the opportunity is now for the business. So homeowner, 87 million homeowners in the country, right? This is fascinating. 39%, almost 40% of homeowners right now own their home outright. It's amazing,
Baby boomer generation getting ready to pass that on their wealth.
right? I mean, just think about that. And then if you look at those with the mortgage, it's almost split. Almost half those with mortgages have more than 50% of equity in their home. So that tells you that 70% of homeowners right now have more than 50% of equity in their home or don't owe anything on the home. So what is it? Where's the opportunity in that? What does that present for us?
They have access to cash.
Well, a lot of people can sell by cash.
Yeah,
Interest rates,
sell them by cash,
a lot of people have enough equity to be original,
equity, use the equity in the home.
Or we can now go help our clients create wealth. We know 70% of our clients, here's the crazy stat, 6% of the US population invest in real estate, 70% can. That's a crazy number.
Sorry.
No, yeah, that
Where did that number come from?
6.7, a lot of Googling.
Lot of Googling. So it's true.
Right? Okay, so 6.7% of the US of homeowners have on their IRS tax returns filed as that they owned a rental property as well. So of homeowners, 6.7% filed that they own a second rental property. 70% of homeowners can. That's a huge opportunity zone, in my opinion. Why would I not call every single one of my clients and says, hey, congratulations, Brian, you made an incredible investment by buying a house 5 years ago. Are you interested in seeing what that investment can turn into?
Yeah.
Let's talk about your passive income. Let's talk about the opportunity for you to gain wealth, for you to be able to pay for your kids' college by buying a property right now. Let's talk about what that opportunity is. Well, I don't have the cash. Are you sure about that?
Love it. So one of the things too, and Lynn's gonna talk about this, we're gonna talk a little bit more about how we execute on this information is, who in here has ever done an investment seminar? Like a seminar teaching people how to invest? 1, 2, 3. Who in here would do an investment seminar if they had all the materials they needed to do an investment seminar? The presentation, the materials, the conversations, everything, plug and play. Who would do it? Yeah. Well, not only is there a book written about it, there literally is, and we'll send this out another recap. Jay raised his hand, right? We have that. Like, we have so many resources, like they're literally, and ironically, it's the most updated materials that Keller Williams University has provided. They updated in 2021. And it's literally a seminar in a box that it literally starts, the slide presentation has the script on there. Not just here are the things to say, the script, the conversation, sorry, that says, welcome to my seminar.
Right.
In front of you, you'll find, like, it gives you all the pieces that you need in there. So these are the ways that we start thinking is how do we go find the people that are going to transact, which really goes to this next part is go to work to make it happen. So there's a couple things I want to talk about on this that are pretty interesting though. So this is fascinating. So this is Keller Williams in Charleston. At a total closed volume year to date of 821 million. And almost 300 of that was listings volume. So 35.5% of our business is from listings. What is your aha on that?
Should be more.
Should be more. Where should it be to be healthy?
60-40.
60-40, right? Okay, so if it were gonna be, let's just say we're 50-50, we're balanced.
60 listings, can I?
Yeah,
60% listings.
Yes.
Okay, let's just be clear.
So if it were to be balanced in here, then what would that total listing volume need to be?
Need to be.
500 million.
600.
Why would it not be half of the 821? Right? It'd have to be right at that half if we're gonna have it balanced out. So the difference between these two is we have a lost opportunity of 500, like Anton said, lost opportunity. No,
Yeah.
why would you give away buyers? That's what we do. We say the 821 and we've got 25%, so we need to balance it. No, bring it up. So that means we had 500, almost 530 million in volume that we lost opportunity on, which by the way, just because this is the number we look at, is 14.3 million in GCI. Which if we divide it equally is $35,000, which we all know that's not gonna happen. But even if it were, who would take an extra $35,000 this year? This again, okay, in full. So let's talk about and again, I'm just doing some trigger conversations of what this means. Why didn't we get that 529 million? What are some of the reasons we're not getting those listings?
Hmm.
I think right now you've got a lot of new construction site sales.
Okay. Yeah, do bring that in there. Okay, what else?
Relocation. All people just buying investment properties.
Right? So they're not, okay, so what about on the listing side? Why aren't we getting the listing? Where are the?
Not prospecting.
Yeah, so normally this is a trick question and it's a sophisticated group that didn't fall for it, so this backfired a little bit. But typically what it is it opens the discussion where you start to say things like, well, inventory's down, right? It's harder to get listings. What we know for a fact is the other 64.5% on the buyer side, they all bought what? A listing, right? So those listings existed. We just weren't there to get them, right? So that's what we need to start looking at is how do we, by the way, who had buyers that couldn't find a house that was on the MLS, right? How do you leverage those buyers to go get more listings? I know it sounds a lot like prospecting and there's a lot of different ways to do that. All right, so talk about the 4 laws.
No, I mean, I beat this to death with anybody who talks to me, but the number one thing is to build a database, and you all have a database, right? That's why you were successful in 2020, 2021, 2019, 2018. You guys all had that. But what we now know is going into this year, we're going to have less home sales, meaning our database is worth less. It is, right? We're not going to go from 3% to 8% of our database is going to turn over. It's not going to happen. The database that we have is worth less. So what is the most important part of our job? Number 2, feed it every single day. And I'm not telling you to get on the phones and cold call. I love that. I think that gets you closest to the transaction, but that's just who I
In a
am.
TCPA
In
compliant
a
way.
TCPA compliant way. But number 2, the most important thing that you guys need to be doing is feeding your database every single day. However it is that you decide to do that, because you can't database your way through this shift. The database that you have going into the shift is not going to make as much money as it did 2 years ago. So you need to grow that database every single day in the way that you see fit. There's no other way to get through this. You're not going to be able to hug and kiss them to make them buy a house in this market. It's not going to happen. So what you have to do is grow it every single day.
Additionally, I will say a lot of us could communicate our way into a better business though. Like, I agree that we're not gonna, blow things out of the water simply by our current database right now. But there's a lot of us right now, if not all of us, who have a huge opportunity that with your current database, you could communicate your way into a lot different financial situation. Right? We're just not doing.
Which is law number 3, right? Feed it daily, communicate systematically. And 4, service all leads. Every single person you've ever met is going to buy or sell a house. I don't think anybody in this room is hanging out with people that are on the street.
Okay, maybe a couple exceptions. All right, so
Just left Austin.
I know, right? All right, so let's shift gears a little bit. Yeah. And how do we take this and we put it into action? And our goal, just so you guys understand, the next 15 minutes, we're gonna be respectful of time. We've got a hard stop at 1. We want to make sure that we have some time for some group discussions in this room as well as in all the other locations. So just giving you a little perspective on time and everything. But Lynn, why are you here?
Am I in the right location for sound?
Yes, you are.
Hi, I'm Lynn. I'm Joseph's wife and partner. And the reason I'm here is because a quick little, like everything they just went over was what I just received at Mega Camp, but it's been like probably a 6-month evolution. And I'm telling y'all what my evolution is in case you can relate to it and or you want to get on board with what I've kind of been pioneering in our own business, which is the following. At family reunion, I hired a coach. I've been running the business for 15 years, never had a coach. I'm still feeling that out because I'm also just a doer. So, as it relates to the coaching conversation, I'm a resource. I'm not always a salesman for them, but I'm experiencing it. Come ask me questions. Hired a coach. So this Mega Camp, I came on with a different hat as the rainmaker of our team, because obviously Joseph has less times as it relates to both sides of our business, buyers and sellers. Some of y'all knew me as only kind of the buyer's agent. I've stepped into both of those roles as well as operations, so I'm tired a lot. Okay. So my Rainmaker hat was on at Mega Camp to get a feel for, okay, I've had 6 months with this coach. We also we went to your database is your data bank in the spring and began the DTD2, which if you want to ask me any questions of like, what is this? Come talk to me later. We have been methodically going through those weeks lead generating schedule because we got pretty bad at that as a team. And in that process, we have been shrinking our database. So not only is it not as valuable for Saltmarsh Properties, it's also smaller because I'm doing cutthroat of if I'm not gonna call them and Joseph isn't gonna call them, they are gone. Now, there are a lot of reasons around that. Come talk to me, we'll have a discussion. What I need to learn at Mega Camp is how do I grow my database? Because that's how I'm gonna get back into the level that we need to be in order to still be a functioning real estate team. So I came away with one thing, but throughout 2024, one a quarter that I'm gonna focus on, build a business plan around that. So that Saltmarsh Properties for 2024 has a plan. One of them will be the seller workshops and buyer workshops and I'm gonna be holding a business owner program. I used to call it the vendor program. I'm giving y'all some hints of what you could ask me about. You have equity in your home. How do you teach your children and help them buy? What if your children are graduating college and you could get them into their first home, not just infancy? What if you used your equity co-signed to help your children? Maybe you're at the age and they don't have that cash. So I'm gonna be getting business owners together to discuss, as a business owner, what do you do with your house to grow your wealth, right? So there are a couple of things I put on my docket, thanks to Mega Camp. The last keynote speaker said this specifically, and this is where y'all might relate to me a little bit. I will not be someone who continuously calls the database person who told me in March they're not buying for any reason. I'm gonna trust they told me the truth because I have that type of relationship. It's not a cold call. I don't call them again in July to say, so do you want to tell me that again? I have buyer reluctance. I don't know what to say to them at that point because I know that they really aren't and are not interested in buying, and I can't blame them. Where would they go? Those conversations that are happening. So what I decided is making conversations count for me. I can't database my way through the shift. What I need to do is educate my way into a better conversation because I'm better actually not asking you to buy, sell, or invest. I'm better just hanging out, and the byproduct is real estate. So what do they say? You want to get better at something? Teach it. So I have stepped back in with their permission and I asked if I could. I want to robust our training calendar, not that it's not already great, but there are things that I want to either teach or facilitate to get in the room with the people who are doing better than I'm doing right now in this market. So the point of this spiel is for y'all for me to be a resource. If some of y'all are like, gosh, I'd like to pick Lynn's brain about what she learned at Mega Camp, that's what we're here for. But also I'm gonna start identifying places in the training calendar that I wanna put back some things we used to do. And I'm almost finished. These are the things that are important to me, but I would like you to say, you know what, this is important to me and I want you to communicate those to me either in a survey we're gonna send out or something where you'll add to this list. But here's what I think is important to me and I'm gonna execute facilitating it so that I can learn. Buyer and listing agent training. I have a buyer lead, I have a listing lead. Now what? Panels and masterminds around the following people. Who are the agents who doubled their business in the last 12 months? I want to find out what they're doing. I want to find those businesses who are staying inside the correct percentage of stability of this shift. Who didn't go down, who's been stable. I want to find out what they're doing. Team leaders, big team leaders. I want to know when you think you should hire, but more importantly, when do you audit that staff based on the shift that you're going through. We got to watch our spending that applies to our Saltmarsh teams, our business teams. I want to hear more conversations around buying leads and how relevant those might be, and is it worth our money? I want to find out about conversion conversations, scripts or other sources of why their conversion improved, whether you're an internet lead or a non-internet lead. So those are the things that are now going to step me into a better acting real estate agent around conversations that count versus just the continuous buying and selling. I'm gonna get business owners in the same room and ask them what their children's plans are. How do they want to buy another business using their home? So there are things like that that I'm just now like, I gotta do. And so 2024 is gonna be my business plan for that. The training calendar I'm gonna start doing and hopefully putting that on there. And I would love y'all's help in teaching. Be on the lookout to get a call from me if you are one of these agents, because you're gonna be on a mastermind, you're gonna be on a panel. So I'm excited to kind of engage everyone in this conversation that counts movement that I'm starting. So that we can really focus on 2024. Let's do what we've learned this year and then execute it to action is my plan.
Awesome. Thank you
That's
very much. Thank you. Go for it.
Yeah, the aha I've had from my conversations with Lynn and Sarah Picard as well, we've got some, for lack of a better term, killers at Keller Williams Charleston. We've got agents who are doing incredible things with their business specifically, and there's no reason that we need to wait to mega camp or family reunion to hear what people are doing nationally when we've got it here. So we want to start to hear from you guys more. We want to put more of your faces up on there. And that's what this whole thing is, because I again, I don't want to wait until February to hear and get reignited when I got somebody
Right.
2 doors down from me. And
Yeah, and that's one of the things too, and a lot of you have heard from Winnie and responding to her. I mean, we're looking at building that, obviously from a faculty standpoint, we've got so many people that we can hear from, and that's the plan. Let's take the larger global conversation and then bring it down and see how it's being executed locally. So the last part on this, and then we'll wrap up, is, how do you embrace the accountability? And one thing that we've already seen, I mean, who in here is meeting with a small group of people within Keller Williams or a group that's helping hold you accountable? By show of hands. So, I mean, that's 40% of the room right there that's meeting with someone. And I mean, there are 2 or 3 groups that I know of that meet regularly. They bounce around town. There's probably a handful more that we don't know of. And that's the other thing is we want to start facilitating and fostering is how do we create those groups? Is it rainmakers getting it together? Is it, there's an admin group that gets together on a regular basis to celebrate that and also hold each other accountable. So those are the things that we'll be adding as it relates to the accountability side of things. So, anything else on that?
No, I'm excited about this market. We know that, again, we're going into the lowest units, fourth highest volume. But when you look at the hands that were raised, that were in here in 2008, right? Look at where their business is. Go talk to Mike Green, go talk to Jansen, go talk to Anton, Brian, go talk to those people, go talk to Lynn. They're still in the room because they went through that muscle, they built through the time, and all of them have very good lives for themselves. So muscle through for this time, this shift that we're going into, and understand that if you stick to it, you're going to build an incredible life for yourselves. It's going to be a little bit different than what it was the past 2 years, and that's fine. But muscle through.
Join YP. Jay just said join YP.
Well, that's what I was gonna say, when we were talking about this earlier, is in 2008, I got into the real estate business because I thought to myself, if I can make it in this real estate business, I'll always be able to make it, because this one sounds awful. You know what I'm saying? This sounds terrible. Let's see what happens. So if any of you are kind of newer, take that same mentality, say this will actually prove whether I'm a long-term career real estate agent or just short-term. Go in it with that approach and be a dog with a bone. Don't let go till you get through it,
Yeah.
Well, my only last thing is there will be a rookie of the year this year. There will be somebody who has never sold a house, who came into this industry and on paper has no reason to be successful. Yet they will go take market share and they'll never give it back. While some of us, it won't be my team, hopefully, we will lose market share to the rookie of the year. So continue to go push, take market share, because there is somebody on paper who should not be selling houses who is going to take massive market share and start to build their life. The 2008 agents.
Yeah. All right. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to wrap up with ahas. I'm going to mute this. So all the individual locations, y'all can do yours as well. But I want each group to have at least 5 ahas that they share with the group before we head out here in the next 3 minutes. Does that sound good? All right. So actually, I will leave this unmuted. The locations, if you guys want to turn your TVs down, you can. So virtual world can hear it. So 5 ahas. What'd you learn today?
What did you hear again?
More conversations with more people, right? Stop counting conversations and make conversations count. That was a good one. Okay?
I found it interesting that 50% of the homeowners have that low interest rate.
Mhm.
So like what someone said, they're baby boomers, they're gonna be downsizing. That's my thought process.
Right,
And
right.
I hear that from the builders, they're getting a lot of people downsizing.
Yep. Okay, love it.
Educating our database on what the market is doing is.
Yep, educate your database on what the market is doing is key, and have the information. That we are gonna get more and more, Anton and I were having this conversation yesterday. We're gonna have more and more of the conversations that may seem, we take on to be way more difficult than they are when they're really just providing them information. And it's gonna happen with sellers who may have to start doing some price reductions, where you simply have to say, listen, I'm here to give you the information. The market's telling me right now that yes, price per square foot, you could get more for your house right now. You absolutely could. Yeah, you have this offer here and they're not budging, you then make the decision whether or not you're gonna stick with what the price per square foot's telling you, or whether or not you're ready to get out of this house. Which I mean, he pointed at his watch, he said time and headspace. A lot of time, that's why you're ready to get out of the house, so you've got to educate them. Awesome, 2 more.
I like the word, I don't think I've ever heard this, commission breath.
Commission breath,
That
yeah.
made me laugh, and I'm like, that's exactly my worst fear. That's why I was saying, I hate to call people once I know that they truly should not buy or sell maybe in this exact 6 months. Then I'm like, well, if I say anything else about real estate that isn't educational, then it's just commission breath, right? And I'm like, I gotta get more education to know how to be robust in those. So I'm gonna go with commission breath.
All right. One more.
The
Anybody
amount of
else?
equity people have in their homes and how that can help, like, you build generational wealth, I
Yeah.
think that's a game changer.
Yeah, the equity people have in their home. All right, anything else? Questions? Awesome. So, guys, thank you for being here today. We appreciate you. We do have a team meeting in here for one of our teams at 1, so you don't have to leave. You just can't stay in here. We want to be respectful of their time, but thank you so much for coming today.
And we have happy hour at 3:30 in the lobby.
Yeah, if you are here, happy hour, 3:30 in the lobby. So, yeah.
I already.